Have you ever wondered where your beliefs came from? Not your opinions, not your preferences, but the beliefs that tell you be realistic, play it safe. People like us don't do things like that because most people assume those beliefs are theirs. I'm not so sure. In fact, I think many of the beliefs shaping our decisions were never consciously chosen at all. They were absorbed, repeated, inherited, passed from one person to another until they started to feel like truth. And that's what interests me. Because if you've carried a belief for 20, 30, 40 years, it's easy to assume it belongs to you. But does it? Or have you simply heard it so many times that you stopped questioning where it came from? And that's important. Because what if one of the beliefs limiting your life today came from someone who never intended to limit you? What if they were trying to help, to protect you, trying to prepare you for the world as they understood it? And yet, decades later, you're still living by a belief that they might not even remember teaching you. Think about that. The person who said it may have forgotten it years ago, but you may still be making decisions because of it. You may have passed up opportunities because of it, stayed quiet because of it, delayed dreams because of it, avoided risks because of it, all because of a belief that may not have started with you. Somewhere along the way, someone taught you what was possible, what was risky, what was responsible, what was realistic, what people like you shouldn't do. And here's the part that fascinates me. Most of us can tell you what we believe. Very few of us can tell you who taught them to believe it. And in this video, I want to explore where many of our beliefs come from, why we rarely question them, and how to recognize if you're living by a story that was handed to you rather than chosen by you. Because every belief has a history, and many of those histories didn't begin with us. They began with a parent, a grandparent, a teacher, a coach, a friend, a spouse, someone whose voice became so familiar it started to sound like our own. But here's the question that I keep coming back to. What was happening in their life when they taught you that? Because that's the part we rarely examine. We ask whether a belief is true. We almost never ask why the person that taught it believed it in the first place. Take a simple phrase like, don't get your hopes up. Maybe you heard that growing up. Why? Was the person trying to limit you? Or had life disappointed them so many times that they were trying to protect you? What about be realistic? Were they trying to crush your dreams? Or had they spent years watching dreams fail? What about play it safe? Was that wisdom or was it fear? Because people don't pass down beliefs in a vacuum. They pass down beliefs shaped by their own experiences, their struggles, their disappointments, their heartbreaks, their victories, their fears, their need to feel safe. The person that taught you that belief may not have been trying to limit you at all. In fact, that's what makes it so complicated because many of the beliefs that keep us stuck weren't handed to us by people that were trying to hurt us. They were handed to us by people who loved us, people who were trying to keep us safe, people who wanted to spare us disappointment, people who wanted life easier for us than it had been for them. And that's why these beliefs seem so difficult to question, because sometimes questioning a belief feels like betraying that person, but they're not the same thing. Protection and possibility don't always point in the same direction. A belief that helps someone survive may not help someone else grow. And maybe that's the question worth sitting with. How much of your life has been shaped by someone else's survival strategy? A rule that made sense for them, a conclusion that protected them, a belief that helped them navigate their circumstances. But circumstances that are no longer yours. What if you've been carrying a map designed for a life that you're not living? What if the belief made perfect sense in their world, but not in yours? Now, before we go any further, I think it's important to say something. This isn't about blaming people. It's not about criticizing your parents or your grandparents or your teachers or anyone else that shaped you. In fact, I think understanding them is part of the process because most people don't intentionally pass down limitations. They pass down what they believe, and what they believed was often shaped by the life they lived. And the more we understand that, the more compassion we have. But compassion doesn't require agreement. You can understand why someone believes something without deciding that you have to believe it too. You can appreciate what they were trying to do. You can respect their experience. You can love them and still disagree with the conclusion. Because questioning a belief is not rejecting a person. Understanding is not obedience. And honoring someone does not require living by every rule they handed you. And this is where the conversation gets personal. Once you understand where the belief came from, an important question follows. What has it been costing you? Not what it cost the person who taught it. What has it cost you? Because beliefs don't just shape what we think, they shape what we do and what we avoid. Imagine someone grows up hearing, people like us don't start businesses. The parent may have been trying to protect them. Maybe they struggled financially. Maybe they watched others fail. Maybe they genuinely believed they were offering good advice. But decades later, that message still echoes. And every time an opportunity appears, a quiet voice says, that's not for people like us. The parent may have forgotten saying it, but the belief continues to make decisions. How many opportunities are filtered out this way? How many ideas go unexplored? How many conversations never happen? How many dreams stay in the planning stage? Not because we can't, because we never questioned the belief. That's what makes inherited beliefs so powerful. They operate quietly and automatically. They don't feel like beliefs, they feel like reality. And when something feels like reality, we rarely examine it. We simply live by it until one day we ask a different question. What if it isn't fact? What if it's a perspective? What if it made sense for someone else's life, but it doesn't fit mine? The moment you ask those, something shifts. You move from obedience to awareness, and awareness creates choice. Now, this doesn't mean that every inherited belief is wrong. Some may still serve you, some may be wise. The goal isn't to reject every belief, the goal is to examine it, to decide consciously rather than automatically, to ask, do I still want this belief to shape my future? Because if you've never questioned it, the belief is choosing you. And maybe that's the real issue. Not that someone taught it to you, but you've never stopped to decide whether you still agree with it. So let's bring this back to you. What's one belief you've been carrying for years? One that influences your decisions, your confidence, your opportunities, your willingness to begin. Maybe it's, I'm too old, I'm not creative, I'm not smart enough, I don't follow through. People like me don't do things like that. Now ask yourself, who taught you this? What was happening in their life when they came to believe it? What has this belief been costing me? Don't rush that last question. The cost is often hidden in missed opportunities, avoided risks, abandoned dreams, or the person you may have become. Then ask one final question. Do I still want this belief to have authority over my life? Not because someone else says I should let it go, but because you've examined it, its origin, its impact, and whether it still belongs. So here's your one small step. Before the day ends, write down that one belief that you're treating as truth. Then answer these three questions. Who taught me this? What was happening in their life when they came to believe it? What has this belief cost me? And after you've answered those questions, ask just one more. Do I still want this belief to guide my future? Because understanding where a belief came from is powerful, but deciding whether it still belongs is where change begins. You can honor the person, appreciate the lesson, understand the context, and still choose a different path. Because understanding is not obedience, and honoring someone doesn't require living by every rule they gave you. So before you move on with your day, ask yourself one more time, who told you that? And does their answer still have the final say in your life? Until next time, stay curious.